Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Stone, and this week we're doing poetry. So I chose a really fun book based on fairy tales. It's called Mirror, Mirror, and it's by Marilyn Singer and illustrated by Jose Massey. So poetry has an overall central theme or idea that the poem is central, well, obviously, is like based about. And then it's able to create mental images while you're reading. The words are able to create that. Um, the words are put in place on purpose. They're very purposeful words. They're not just there to fill up space. And the arrangement is also very on purpose. And then they can also have physical and grammatical technical errors, but they are there to help the story make sense. Poetry is imaginative, creative, and helps provoke thought and emotion from the reader. So I'm just going to read the last page of this book to help make sense of how this book is arranged. The author wrote, we read most poems down a page, but what if we read them up? That's the question I asked myself when I created the reverso. When you read a reverso down, it is one poem. When you read it up with changes only allowed in punctuation and capitalization, it is a different poem. The first reverso I wrote was inspired by my cat, August. And I'll show you the poem so that you know what I'm talking about. So here's the poem up to down. And here's the same poem, but it starts here and works its way up, and it reads like that. And it tells a completely different story. So it says, a cat without a chair, incomplete. The other side says, incomplete. Let me read that again. Incomplete, a chair without a cat. The author says that this style is very challenging and fun, and it's kind of like creating and solving a puzzle, which is really fun. So you kind of need the pictures to understand who's talking, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. I'm going to read two of these poems. The first one is based off The Ugly Duckling, and you can see that the pictures show different sides of the story, just like the poems do. So this side of the page correlates to that poem, and this side correlates to this poem. And that's how it is on every page. So it's called The Doubtful Duckling. Someday I'll turn into a swan. No way I'll stay an ugly duckling. Stubby and gray, plain to see. Look at me, a beauty I'll be. And the other side says, a beauty I'll be? Look at me, plain to see, stubby and gray. An ugly duckling I'll stay. No way I'll turn into a swan someday. So it's the exact same words, just written backwards. And it's really cool. The next one is Mirror, Mirror. It's based off of Snow White. So you can see here, Snow White's telling the story, and then the evil queen is telling the story. And I'll show you that picture in a minute. So first Snow White is talking to the seven dwarfs. Let me help you get some rest. Mother knows best. Listen to me, Snow White. Sleepy, dopey, happy, you've been working day and night. You look worn out. A long nap? A blanket? An apple to eat? What would you like? Time to get off your feet. And then the evil queen tells the story and is talking to Snow White and says, time to get off your feet. What would you like? An apple to eat? A blanket? A long nap? You look worn out. You've been working day and night. Sleepy, dopey, happy Snow White. Listen to me. Mother knows best. Let me help you get some rest. So it kind of depends on how you read it out loud to make the tone make sense. But there's a it's really cool. It's definitely a fun, creative, interesting way to show the stories, and it's good at telling two sides of a story, which for fairy tales is kind of cool because you don't usually hear two sides. So the pictures are very enchanting and magical. One of my favorite ones is based off of Sleeping Beauty, and it shows you how enchanting and magical it is. You can see on one side of the story, the lines, you can't really see them, kind of right there. They're very curvy and whimsical, and create just kind of a lighthearted feeling. And on the other side, they're very jagged and almost angry looking and upset. Um, the deep, rich colors help portray like sincere emotions that the narrator has about their opinion. So that's really cool. Um, my favorite things about the book is the explanation that I read to you first about how the book's set up. And I love the creativity. The thing I don't like about the explanation is that it's located at the very back of the book. It's the last page, and I don't like that. I wish it was at the beginning, because if children were to pick this up, they might not understand how this is set up. And if it was at the beginning, I'd explain it better. I also love that it presents fairy tales in new perspectives, because we've all heard fairy tales. We've all heard the same old, but it's cool when you can hear different perspectives. The pictures add so much to the story, and I love that. Without the pictures, this book would be lost. The poems would not make very much sense. Like I said, you kind of need the pictures to tell who is telling the story, that part of the poem. I don't necessarily like that you need the pictures. I like the pictures being there, but I don't like that you have to see the picture to know who is speaking. I wish you could tell that from the poem itself. And then I also really love that reading the book out loud adds to the stories, and to the poems and to the feelings. If you just read it in your mind, it kind of doesn't make sense. But when you add emotion to it, it's really cool, and I love it. So I encourage you guys to pick this up. It's really fun. It's called Mirror Mirror, and it's really exciting. Has a lot of fun elements to it. So I encourage you guys to read it. I hope you enjoyed my presentation.